Well, hi guys, welcome to Bajerski YouTube channel. Beautiful day today. Definitely took on board some of your points about my conversations regarding vaccines and all of those things, that you don't want to lose this channel. I respect that wholeheartedly, but you've got to understand as well, I come from a place of truth, and if I feel true is truth, I want to share that. But I do appreciate what you're saying. You want to keep this channel, and so do I. I'd be heartbroken if this channel disappeared. So let's keep it safe. Let's keep it, let's hush up and keep quiet, and let's not talk about too much truth. But we can talk about happiness. We can talk about joy. We can talk about uplifting situations that we see from day to day, and those situations are far and few between, as we see on social media. So I get to see them every day. Like this morning, one of the ladies here who works here gave me a big cuddle, and I gave her a crystal, and it was a piece of jade, and she'd never seen anything like it before. We laughed and we talked about it, and it was so lovely to be able to share a little bit of love and a little bit of happiness, and to awaken somebody in the field of crystals, which is a beautiful field to be in. I don't want to go down the path and talk about anything negative today, but there is a huge drive, a huge push in the area of crystals at the moment, and the crystal world is being attacked, as most of the worlds of certain industries are. Nothing I can do about that. I started this field of work 16 years ago. Who am I to argue and at the end of the day, the greed of man is always going to be there, and when we change that around and really focus on love and not greed, then the world will change, of course. But until then, when greed is involved, people will overmine, and I guess that's what today's conversation is about, overmining. I guess like anything, because this is now a $1 trillion industry, and if you go to the show in America, one of the biggest shows, I think it's in Arizona, I've never been, and I think they turn over something like, I don't know, 100 million or 200 million in a few days. So the industry is huge, and when we talk about minerals, we talk about crystals, and we talk about gemstones. They don't separate those things. They put it in one category. So we can talk about blood diamonds. We can talk about the slavery and the abuse of chocolate making, and we can talk about any other big industry where there is manipulation, there is slavery, there is bribery, there is corruption, and there is an over process of raping that particular field of nature. And it is sad. It really is heartbreaking. What do we do about it? Well, what can we do about it when millions upon millions of euros are made every day, and money is the root of all that happens? Not much, really. But what you can do, and what I do, is I source my products. I want to know, first of all, where's my crystal coming from? You think, like, I've got this crystal here in my hand, okay? It's kunzite. And here's another kunzite. There you go. One from Afghanistan, and one from, I believe, America. I can remember. There comes a point where you've got to trust your man who's selling to you. So you have to trust your shop. I have to trust the person who's selling to me, because I don't go directly to source and check. So how do I check when I buy a crystal? What do I do? Well, first of all, I got to get to know the people that I'm buying from, and you only normally need to spend 15 or 20 minutes with somebody to see if they're genuinely interested in crystals. When somebody's genuinely interested in crystals, when you go to a crystal shop and they're genuinely interested, you know that you're buying from somebody who cares about the crystal. Well, when I buy from somebody, it's from somebody who buys from the mines. If I'm buying off a dodgy dealer and somebody who is only interested in the profit margins of his product and doesn't talk about the crystal, I say, oh, thanks very much, see you later, and I'm off to the next dealer. When I get to know the dealer and listen to him and he talks about his family, he talks about how he cares for certain subjects, I listen to his voice, listen to the tip of the iceberg of how he is. I then think, okay, well, he's got principles. So that's a good start. And from that moment on, I have a conversation with him. And the conversation I hold with him is normally one that is, where do you buy your crystals from? That's the first thing I like to ask. And then they'll say, well, I source my own crystals, meaning I go to shows, or I go to direct, or I have a middleman who buys for me. Now, I think a really good thing to always remember, a good grounding and a good a measuring stick is, there's some truth in this. If you want to know who somebody is, then find out who their friends are. Okay? So you normally know somebody by their friends, right? So if they've got friends who are dodgy, who are aggressive, angry, who scream and shout and are nasty and do bad things, normally you can kind of put together in a psychology kind of way that, well, if they have friends like that, that means that they don't really care so much about how their friends behave. Therefore, they won't really care about what they buy and where they buy it from, right? Whereas for me, I'm very personal about my friends. I only have a handful of friends, and I really have to get to know them to be real friends of mine. Not for any other reason other than their energy. So I feel their energy as a person, I watch them, listen to them, and then I start to ask them about their where they go and dig, where, you know, because some of my beautiful buyers dig straight from source. So they go to mines and they buy from mines. So I'm always interested, you know, I ask, like, how's the fair trade? How is it in the mines? And that's kind of like how I buy my crystal. I think that's the way I can move forward. Does one person make a difference to this industry? Probably not. But at least I feel that each crystal that I buy is scrutinized, and I know it isn't like buying a blood diamond. And that's why I don't touch diamonds. As soon as I found out about blood diamonds years ago, I just completely stopped. I didn't want to touch them. So it is an interesting field of work that I'm in, and it's becoming ever more evident that crystals are now getting a really bad preview about how crystals are dug and how it's causing great issues and problems to the earth. Now, to a degree, I agree, to a degree. But what I've noticed and started to see, which is quite blatantly obvious, is that many people in they call journalistic world, the journalists who are writing and exposing of this new crystal world and the dark secrets of them, I find it bizarre because I've read maybe 10 or 15 articles in the past 2 months. And what I noticed is, if you really look into these articles and read between the lines, you start to see that they're promoting certain crystal companies. Now, why is that? I thought a journalist was meant to be, non-biased. They're meant to be, they sit on the fence. They don't take sides. So then I realized a lot of these push journalists are actually selling an advertisement. So what they do, and this is how it works now, it's very clever. A journalist comes up with an idea. That idea is to sell a story. To sell a story to a newspaper, they would probably, or if they work for a newspaper, they would think, okay, now what story can I come up with? What juicy story, which is normally they're looking for the darkness, dark fear. So let's say they choose crystals now. They think to themselves, how can I make a little bit more money? Because that's what it's all about, guys. Okay, so I'm going to hunt for somebody who wants to be part of this advert, even though it doesn't look like an advert, and ring them up and say, hi George, you're the owner of this crystal company, right? Can I come and see you? Sure, come and see me. We're doing a write-up. So they go and have a look at their warehouse, and the guy says, yes, I buy ethical, I'm this, that, and the... Okay, great. Well, we're doing a feature story. Would you like to be involved in that feature story? Wow, yeah, that would be amazing. Well, we'll put you in there. We'll tell you that, you know, this is the guy to go to, and maybe, you know, you can look after me. And, you know, maybe, I don't know, you want to pay the company or pay me. And, yeah, that's great. I'd love to do that. So then it goes into one of the major newspapers and the shock story, and then all of a sudden you're reading this person is being a hypocrite who's talking about crystals and then diverting you to somebody selling crystals. So I guess this video is just to say, every field of work that we live in, we live on a planet now of 9 billion people, right? And ever growing. People are trying to make a living, people do bad things, people do good things. And I guess that if you're worried about choosing a crystal where you think that, you know, not only is the fear factor of the crystal being a fake, which so many crystals are fakes now, that's one factor, but am I actually buying from somewhere where I know is credible, where they really care? Well, as far as I'm concerned, unless you're in that particular mine, digging yourself, that is the only way you're truly going to know whether that mine is ethical. The only other way for people like me is to go on trust. Ask my suppliers how they get their crystals, where they're from, how many staff they have, how much they get paid, and that's kind of like how I end up making friends and acquaintance and business partners in the world of crystals. Now, I'm only a small fish in a big sea, in a big ocean. I buy maybe 1,000 crystals a year at the most, maybe 1,000 crystals a year. The people that these articles are talking about are people who basically dig crystals, throw them into huge containers and just ship them out with no thought or feeling other than that these are rocks that are weighed and they charge a certain price, and there's no thought or feeling about it, just digging the mine completely. So that's it, guys. I hope today give you an insight of how I see the world of crystals, like the world of cacao, how, you know, dangerous it is and how people are enslaved, and same with rice, how people get paid pittance. All the world has the good and bad side to everything. There's always a dark side to everything, you know. And we I guess that we learn, we grow, we become aware of it, and then we make the decision where we buy our crystals from. And more importantly, is if you go to your local crystal store and say, look, I'm really interested in this crystal, but actually I'm more interested in knowing where that crystal came from, and did it come from China? Did it come from India? Did it come from certain places where the ethical fair trade is non-existent and it's all about profit? If they say, well, yeah, I buy from China because it's the cheapest place, you can be damn well sure that it's going to be exempt from fair trade. It's just, they just don't care, and the chances are that they're fake as well. So I think you have to be strong, right? you know, because you're going to get your crystal store owner either being angry with you, and that's a good indication that they either don't care or you've shaken their foundations because they didn't think of that, and maybe they feel bad because they didn't and now they're angry. Or they turn around and say, hey, great point. Actually, I did this and I'm looking at doing this and I'm looking at finding crystals from here, and that's a great point. So if if they say, no, I don't know, then maybe you need to go to your next crystal store or say to them, well, whenever you find out and let me know, I will support you from buying crystals from your store. But until that day, I'd rather not actually purchase a crystal thinking that it could be of the slave trade that is going on, and the manipulation and the raping of crystals where there's no love for crystals at all. A lot of people believe that crystals should be left in the ground and ask me, should they be left in the ground? Well, a lot of my crystals weren't in the ground, they were on top. So you can actually pick crystals from around and here and there, scattered all over the place. And I like to do that. You know, I bought a lifelong ladies crystal collection once. You probably know, I told you. There was about, I think, 40 boxes. And she had gone into the mountains of the Bobo Mountains in Namibia and picked crystals with her father. And she was a little girl. And I was so blessed to be able to buy these crystals from her. And I mounted all these crystals. Not all of them, I've still got lots left. But there were some beautiful crystals amongst them. You know, Orange River, Blue Lace Agate, amethyst, so many different quartzes, oh my god, lapis. And it went on, and I had absolutely boxes full. And I remember she asked me a price and I gave her much more because I knew it was an amazing collection. I spent 3 years working on them crystals. They were underneath my healing bed. I packed them all under my healing bed. Many people will tell you this because, you know, I used to show people. And then slowly but surely I started getting them mounted. A bit like this one. Slowly started mounting them. And basically that's how my progression of selling crystals started. I'm not somebody who goes to wholesale companies and buys masses of one crystal. I've never done that. There's no heart in that. There's no soul in that. So you'll look on my website and see maybe a selection of maybe 20 or 30 of one crystal, but they're all different. Each one of them are uniquely different in its own way, and that's how I work with each one. So I am very different from most crystal sellers. My truth is that a crystal is more important to me than the profit, and it always has been. If I wanted profit, I could go out tomorrow to any company and don't care and say, oh, I'll have that box full there of 500 crystals. And I could put them on my website and put a price of, say, 10 euros per crystal. And I'd probably make more money in 1 year than I do now. No problem. I could do that. But my whole point about crystals is that each crystal is a unique energy. And when I hold a crystal, after holding, like I'm heading to a big show and I'm meeting quite a few people there who are friends over the years who I call cherry pick. They know that Mark wants the best or the nicest quality of whatever, so I'm heading there to get some special, some real beauties, real amethyst beauties, which are beyond beautiful, watermelon quartz and all, you know, all of these beautiful tourmalines, and I cherry pick them. So when I go to a show, I might touch 100 Moldavites to have one Moldavite. Okay, so I'm annoying to a lot of dealers there. They don't like me because I'll spend an hour choosing one crystal. And that's why I believe I'm slightly different, and that's why I think my website's growing, because people feel that they're not just another commercial companies selling crystals. Now, I'm not here trying to sell you my website, but I am here to tell you and share with you how I connect with crystals and how important they are to me. Not just I'll have that batch over there, or I'll have that batch over there. I want to feel them, because I know, ultimately, I know that there is a flooded market of fake crystals, and I believe in this world that if I came to your house with my machine and placed my machine on each one of your crystals, the chances are now that 1 in every 10 crystal could be fake. That's how it's flooded the market. So yes, it's, for me, my homework, what I do to put a crystal on my website is at the tip of the iceberg. You only see a tiny fraction of when you see a crystal and how it's produced on my website. And then from there, once I've worked on them for however long, I've worked on them, maybe a month, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, depending. Once I'm finished working with that crystal and I feel it's ready and energized, I then come to Bali, bring them to Bali now, because people were saying, Mark, you know, I love your crystals. They're all mounted in very similar ways. Is there any way to mount them differently? And is there any way to have your mark on it? And I went, oh, it's a bit ego for me. And they said, no, we'll pay. We want a stamp. So I created a section where certain people wanted a crystal to be mounted and to have my initial on to say it's one of my crystals. So it wasn't done out of ego. It was done out of clients asking. So that's when I came up with this. So I came to Bali, and I don't know if you can see, but it's got my hand mark sign, MB. And the interesting thing is I wanted to find a family, and the family of jewelers, and I wanted to support them, and I wanted to meet them. I wanted to feel their energy. I wanted to see if they were, you know, good and if they could work with me. Yes, they don't speak great English, but they do brilliant and they do great work. So the last crystals I got from them, which was a lot of work, there's 3 full-time workers and they love their job, and the 3 employees that I pay to look after them. So I pay 6 people. These 6 people work constantly every day for me, and because of you wanting these, I can now afford to pay these people. So it you know, you're not only buying a crystal from me, but you're also helping with 6 families. So and this is the truth, right? I was sat with them at Art Lounge, and I just got here a few months ago, and they'd finished 6 months supply. So you can imagine there was like I think 300 crystals, and they were on the table, and I was kind of crying. I was so happy with what they've done. I went to the bank prior and drew out a load of money for the 3 people I knew were coming, and at the end, when they were going, I'd already paid them for the crystals. I gave them all a big handful of money, and I did that out of love, to say thank you for your hard work. And if anybody ever wanted to research that and know that, it's all here. So I try to be as genuine and loving and pay. In fact, the workers asked for a rise and I paid them. I said, yeah, I'll pay your rise. So like I said, if I have the money to do it because you are trusting in me and you come to me, I can very easily then give them what they want. So as fair trade goes in markbajerski.com, I believe I've done as much as I could do to be as ethical as possible. Now, there was somebody on the other day, and it didn't affect me, but I just thought it was interesting. And they said a message saying that, oh yes, I love your website, but I can't afford £900 for a Moldavite. And I found that interesting because my Moldavites start from 20, the little chips, and then they go to 65, this size, and then they go up to nearly €2,000. And the €2,000 are because people asked me for top quality high grade AA Moldavites. So at one time I had a rush and doing really well with Moldavite, and I went and bought a few pieces of Moldavite, which were more money. Was it a gamble? Damn well it was a gamble. Damn right it was a gamble. Do they sell every day? No, they don't. But they're there if people want them. So I find it somewhat interesting how people look upon the greater value of a crystal rather than the value of the other crystals. It's almost like it's a dig at me because I dare sell something at a lot more money. So I find that interesting. What I do try and do is I try my best to keep the price as good as possible at the same time as being able to pay all the staff who are in Spain who work for me full time. Please don't ever forget that I also pay for your shipping, which is registered post. People forget that. Don't forget that I wrap them in beautiful, beautiful ways when they come to you out of love with my staff or myself. I have to pay for an academy. I have to pay for staff. I have to pay for electric. So if you want to stay in business, you have to have a brain as well. And a lot of you already know, if you know me, that I gift tons of crystals away, hundreds, if not thousands a year. So I believe if ethical is ethical, I believe on a scale of 1 to 100, 1 being not non-ethical and 100 being the purest of ethical behavior, I think I'm pretty much up to 60-70% ethical, unless I actually go to the mines, unless I pay my staff 1,000 an hour. You know what I'm trying to say. I do my best, and again, I don't hide anything. I'm an open book, and that's it. So it's a beautiful day, and I hope you've enjoyed this little chat. I wasn't going to talk about this, but then again, it was meant to be. So now you know how a beautiful crystal from Mark Bajerski collection comes to you. And I think on the video I'm just about to do now, in a few moments, if you hop along to Mark Bajerski Crystals, will be on this beautiful crystal called kunzite. Okay guys, have a beautiful day. Thank you for listening to me, and I hope this explains some of the things about how the industry of crystals is being slightly manipulated. And let's hope that you've taken a few tips from this today and maybe really have a think about it next time you're in your crystal shop. Have a great day guys. Take care.